My name is Diana, and my story begins when I was 12 years old. My mother and father were having their typical weekend fight, and as I watched, my father stormed out of the back door, came back with a shotgun in his hand. I started running towards the house, and the blast of the shotgun deafened my ears, and I collapsed at the front door, trembling, and my mother came out and said that your father has killed himself. Go to the neighbors. My whole little world was torn apart by the blast of that shotgun. We never talked about it. We moved, and I stuffed those feelings of terror, desertion, rejection, and I became an overachiever. I was at the height of my career in my early 40s when I fell down an 80-foot cliff. The doctors called my family and told them they didn't know whether I would live or die, but if I lived, I most likely would be a quadriplegic. I knew I was a miracle because everybody told me so, so I went out and bought the most expensive Bible I could find, and I demanded of God to know what was up. What did you save me for? But I ended up throwing it across the room in anger. I had to have multiple surgeries, and it was the first time in my life I couldn't work. The silence was deafening. I had a lifetime prescription of pain meds. The doctors were giving me Oxycontin, Zoloft, Xanax. I was taking a pharmaceutical cocktail, chasing it with a liter of vodka a day, and I became severely depressed and isolated. It was after my third suicide attempt that my husband had me arrested on drunken and disorderly charges in our home. They held me long enough for him to get a restraining order together and let me out the back of the jail with my only possession being the restraining order, and I was destitute. It was only by the grace of God that I somehow wound up on the doorstep of Sacramento Valley Teen Challenge. But I was in such a toxic state of withdrawal, the staff didn't know what to do with me. I couldn't even sign my own name. So they called the women's director, and she said God put it on her heart that I should stay, and told them that I was a keeper, so they kept me. One night I realized what my husband had done, and those feelings of rejection and abandonment began to loom up out of me again, like when I was a little girl. I felt like that same little girl out of the door when my father committed suicide, and I was so broken and just cried out to Jesus. And he came into my room at the crisis center and enveloped me in his love and in his presence. The next morning when I woke up, I knew I was a new person. I knew I would never need pain medications or alcohol again to deal with all of my hurts. That was back in 2006, and God continues to heal me. I graduated from Teen Challenge and thought that this healing process was over and I could just be a regular Christian and go to church like everybody else. And then somebody invited me to Celebrate Recovery, and it was there that I found out that my alcoholism and addiction to pain meds were just a big boulder. And once that was removed, there was a whole gravel quarry of hurts and hang-ups underneath. God showed me that I had all these feelings of bitterness and resentment that I had been harboring all of my life. I learned through this church the intimacy of relationship with Jesus. I learned his love for me, and I was able to forgive myself and to forgive others. Through the step study, I was able to confess to God and to somebody else all those things that I had been so embarrassed and was just shameful of. But once I spoke them out, they lost their power over me. I was free from them. My mother and father have both passed, and I've come to know that Jesus died for them and their sins, and I need to die to them too. I still struggle with resentment and abandonment issues, but I am so excited to see what God is going to do in me. I've learned how humble and gentle a heart He is as He works on my heart and makes me a new person. And I'm just excited to see what He's going to do in me and through me. And I think Celebrate Recovery should be called celebrate discovery, discovering who you are in Jesus Christ and the freedom that that brings into your life.